Hello everybody. Today we're going to be moving our IQ tester to Mastercam to make a tool path to send to our CNC machine. So to get started, we're going to make sure that we have our part already pre-assembled, and we're going to move it over to Mastercam, which is under Mastercam Direct, and then Mastercam. You're going to be prompted with a window, and our options are going to be pre-selected, and we're just going to hit the green check mark. Once that's clicked, we're going to wait a minute for Mastercam to open the file, and then we can get started with our video. So now that our Mastercam has started to load, it'll just take a couple more seconds for our part to open up. Once our part has opened up, we're going to just hit cancel, as we're not saving it yet. We're going to switch to an isometric view, which is very easy. You just go up to the view section and you will select isometric. Isometric is over on the second set of choices, and it gives us a nice clean view. We already have our Larkin router selected, which is the router we're going to be using. Under router, just make sure that you have Larkin set up for your machine group. Next up, we're going to set up our stock, and this is just going to make sure that our dimensions are all set so there's no mix-up with the CNC machine. So after clicking the corner and hitting all entities, we should be ready to start our drill. So our first tool path is a drill, and we're just going to make sure that our holes are selected, highlighted, selected, and once we select all of those, if you run into an issue where some of the diameters say NA, you can just click on it and hit the delete button on your keyboard to get rid of it. We're then going to make sure that all of our points are highlighted, and there you can start seeing that the tool paths are going to be linked. Our type is called solid arc, and it will just number them as you go. You would want to select these so that they match up in the cleanest possible path to reduce the amount of time that it takes for our CNC machine. I have a nice path that goes from one hole to the next, up to the next layer, and back. Once all of these are done, you can double check just to make sure they're all the same. For our selected sort, we're going to go from the top of the list. So this will just start from the first point we selected and go to our last. Once you hit the green check mark, you're going to be opened up into our parameters. So we're going to want to select our tool, which is a 1/4 bit. Now I have a filter on here. If I turned off the filter, it would give us every possible option. Ours is going to be the 1/4 inch straight bit, and we're going to make sure that we have that selected. And then we're going to go all the way down to our linking parameters. As seen here, we're going to set all of our values to absolute, and now we're going to need to set our depth to 1/2 inch. Now later on in the video, I'm going to show you that I have messed up my depths. I have them all about a 1/4 inch more than what they need to be, and I will go back and I'll show you how to edit those. So now that our tool paths are done, you can see that they're laid out, and later on we're going to test it. Once we get all the tool paths done, we're going to put it back into an isometric view, and we will continue on to our pocketing. So select down on our pocket, and we are going to make sure that we have our chain selected. Once we click that, we're just going to click on the top edge of our circle, and it should be highlighted yellow. Click the green check mark, and we're going to go to our tool, select the 1/4 inch straight bit. Once we go to our cutting parameters, we do not need an entry motion because this is a plunge bit. The entry motion would just add time to our cut, but we have the tool that lets us not do that because it can drill straight down and then to the side. We're going to set it to 1/2 of our bit, which we have a 1/4 bit. So we're going to set to 1/8, set all of our values to absolute, and we're going to set our depth again. Again, I had these too deep to start, and I go back and change it. So I set this to 3/4 of an inch, but however, it does not need to be that deep, and I'll go back and change it because that's the size of the thickness of our stock. So once that's done, we're going to go back to parameters. We're going to make sure that we have not our finishing. We're going to go to our roughing, and we have it set as zigzag right now. We want it as a true spiral because we are working with a circle. However, depending on your shape, you might find that the zigzag or another option might work better. So here is when I realized that our parameters for our depth are wrong, so I correct them, and it's just simple as clicking on the parameters under the toolpath group to make sure that they are correct. So now that they are set, we can move on to our contour. So you're going to select contour, and you're going to click on the edge of our shape. We're going to put it back into isometric view first, go back, then select contour. This is just to make sure that we have a good view and we know where we're going to be selecting. Once you hit select, you're going to make sure that our tool's highlighted again. You're going to go to our depth cuts. We will be using depth cuts, and these will be at, again, half the size of our bit. We're using the 1/4 bit, so we're going to go with 1/8. Next up, we're going to go to tabs. This is just to make sure that what we're cutting out of, it's linked to the original material. I'm going to put it on the top and bottom to avoid hitting our lead in and our lead out. We're going to set everything to absolute, and our thickness of our stock is about 3/4 of an inch. However, we want to go a little bit deeper than this just to make sure if our CNC machine is not level that we still break through. Here I'm going back to tabs just to edit them, have a vertical motion so it's less strain on the machine, and adjust the thickness. Once that is completed, we're going to select, hitting the green arrow, make sure we have everything selected, and we're going to watch a preview of our cut just to make sure that everything's working correctly. So once that process, you're going to get a little video that you can adjust the speed of and watch. In mine, some of the pocketed hole or some of the drilled holes don't turn out perfect. However, that's just a glitch in the video, and you can see at the end there they pop into place. So just double check and make sure everything's good. You can see our tab here. You won't see it on the front or the sides. This is because that's where things at the edge of the stock is when we selected our entities. Put this back in an isometric view, and you can just exit out of this. The important part is we're going to generate our G code, which the CNC machine is going to read and process our piece. So you can save this as whatever. I'm saving this as IQ tester in all caps, just so it's easier for me to see over on the CNC machine. And you can see that our code is going to load up here. Now, fun fact about our code is that it can be edited from the code itself. It does not have to be done in the CNC machine. So if something's not working correctly, you can edit it from here. However, it's much more user-friendly to use it from Mastercam. Here I am just scrolling down, just looking at some of the code. This is where you would change things, and you can save this right there. I'm going to save, exit out, because I already have this saved, but I don't need to rename it. And that's about it. You have your tutorial completed.